Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Club Junkie podcast, the final podcast of 2022. It's crazy to think. I know it's a little late coming out this morning, but just the way this holiday week has gone, it's been a little interesting for me. But before we get into today's show, I just want to let you know this episode brought to you by Titleist and the Titleist TSR Woods. The hours have been put in, the work has been done. As the moment approaches, you either fear it or you feel it. For Titleist, it's a moment filled with pure anticipation, the culmination of a relentless pursuit of speed in every form. So step up and settle in with confidence. The Titleist TSR is here. The new TSR drivers take everything that made TSI the number one driver on tour and pack even more performance into every head. From new face technologies to CG improvements and aerodynamic refinements, when everything moves the needle, you're playing at Titleist speed. So go to Titleist.com to learn more about TSR metals and to schedule your fitting today. Titleist TSR. Find your faster. So the last show of 2022, kind of crazy to think about. I didn't, it's one of those, the year's over, just about. We got like a couple days here before New Year's, and then we start off 2023. And for the most of us, it means we write the date on a piece of paper or a document, and we write 2022 and have to scratch it out and write 2023. Not a whole lot really changes for most of us, but it is kind of a new year, and we'll have next month, I think we're going to have a ton of golf equipment news. It's going to be awesome. I'm super excited. Going back down to the PGA show this year. So that'll be interesting. I mean, just a whole lot going on in January, which is pretty wild. Pretty excited to see. We've got a group of people going to TaylorMade from the Golf WX forums. We got some people going to TaylorMade to try out some new products in January. So January is going to be chock full of just exciting stuff, man. I'm super fired up. So I've got you can't see it here, but I've got a box of brand new equipment, none of it which I can talk about yet, that I've got to get out and hit. It's just sitting here kind of staring me in the face. But I didn't get much time over this little holiday break, in a sense, because my holiday was pretty interesting. So just to give you the quick Cliff Notes version, up here in Detroit, we got like a crazy kind of windstorm on Friday last week, and right before Christmas, we lost power at my house. My furnace decided after this power outage to not come on, and my house was steadily dropping in terms of temperature. Had somebody come out, said, "Oh, the circuit board in it is bad." And mind you, this is a furnace that is 1 year old. Like to yesterday, I think the 28th was when it was of 2021. Was when it was finally like fully installed, done. So a year-old circuit breaker, supposedly bad, and think the power outage fried it, whatever. I had to shut off my water in my house, open faucets, everything, because they basically can't order a part even until it's Christmas Eve and then Christmas Day. Like there's no chance to order a part. So, and all of a sudden, Christmas Eve night, somebody we were kind of joking about what do you think the temperature of the house is going to be, whatever. My wife and I packed up basically our whole Christmas, took it over to my in-laws, who were very, very gracious to let us stay there for a few days. And, we left the house. It was 43 degrees after an overnight and all that. So Christmas Eve, it was 43 degrees in the afternoon. And then somebody, was just like, "Oh, what's your temperature of your house?" So we pulled it up on the phone, and it was 51. It had gone up. And that made me a little worried. I was like, did, the hot water tank explode? Is there just hot water, all over the basement heating the house? No, the furnace just came back on. No rhyme or reason. It was just running. So, don't know how it's running. It's still running right now, which is amazing. Nobody knows how. Nobody knows why. It just is running now. So, we still have to kind of figure a little bit of that out of why, but very interesting. So there was a lot of driving between my house and my in-laws' house, and like I said, having Christmas Day with my daughter, my wife, and everything at their house instead of my house, and it was an interesting time. So haven't got a lot of time to go out and hit some new stuff yet. I hopefully will do that very, very shortly. But it was very, very interesting. It was good. Other than that, it was stressful for my wife and I. Other than that, I think my daughter had a blast. Everything else was really good. Saw a lot of family. So I can't complain, but it was a little more stressful than it needed to be for my wife and I, that's for sure. But hopefully your holiday was better than that. Hopefully it was much more smooth. Hopefully you guys had a lot of fun and were safe in your travels. I know travels were a nightmare, it looked like. So hopefully if you're traveling to and from wherever you're going, hopefully you get there safe, somewhat on time, all that. And yeah, we're excited for the new year. So new year, gonna head down to the old parents' cottage and just hang out. We have nothing to do there. It's too cold. It's not like we're gonna be like hanging out down to the beach or the boat or whatever. But that stuff's all out of the water anyway. But just go down there, do something different. Sitting in four different, a different box, sit in four different walls and hang out. So just doing that. Nothing too exciting, nothing crazy. My days of wild parties on New Year's are long gone. I passed those up many years ago. I want to say it's been probably at least, and I want to say it's been a couple of years since I've probably seen midnight, to be honest with you. So most years I am out in bed by before that. So it's it'll be interesting. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to make it this year till midnight either. So as you count down the ball dropping, just know that I will probably be in bed sleeping away. So, but again, everybody be safe on New Year's. If you go out and if you celebrate, you're having, go somewhere or whatever, please, watch what you're doing in terms of driving and all that. Just, be as safe as possible and start out the new year with, on a positive note. And hopefully you have fun, enjoy your time. Hopefully you see some friends, family, whatever you do. Just be safe about it and, be ready to play some golf in 2023, So you don't need anything, deterring that. So I'm excited for next year in golf. This winter, I definitely have not. I really wanted to set a goal, try to get in a slightly bit better golf shape and maybe fix a little bit of the swing flaws that I have. Have not done any of that. I know it's only January, so I still have, or it's only end of December, so I still have January, February, and for the most part all March to do that. So hopefully I can get my butt in gear and start working on that, because I do have to fix some things to, I wouldn't say enjoy golf more, because I did have fun playing golf this year, even if I didn't play amazing and my handicap kind of went up a little bit and then back down and it kind of rode a little bit of a roller coaster. I still had a lot of fun playing. I still, as I've gotten older, enjoyed time playing with, my dad and my brothers more and more, just to enjoy the time. So, and also just, meeting a few people, playing randomly by myself and showing up at a course and just having some fun. So, been a good time, and I hope 2023 for my golf game is a little better in terms of the performance. Maybe the scores are slightly. I'm not looking to blow my handicap out of the water and knock it down to, a crazy number. Not looking to do that. I would just like to be a little more consistent with the way I played. So it's just a slight goal of mine. I know I should probably have a few more resolutions going into next year, but that's about it at the moment. I don't really set a ton of resolutions, because honestly, I would break them all the time. They'd be toast in like a week. So going to the gym every week and and all these things. No, it's just not going to happen. It just never does with me. So hopefully, like I said, after here, I can, work a little bit on that. And then, like I said, I've got the Golf Forever unit that I'm going to mess with and do some of that stuff, as well as, like I said, hopefully go to the range and not only hit new equipment, but try to work on fixing some of the flaws that are, hindering my swing. So, but today's episode is probably going to be a little shorter, just because, one, I've got off to a late start. As you probably know, everybody in the world, it seems, has some type of cold or sinus infection or sick. Daughter's not feeling amazing, so we kind of let her sleep, and she kind of slept in. So that means I kind of slept in, and all that. So I'm getting off to a little bit of a late start, which it is what it is. I guess that's the way it goes for the last show of the year. But I'm gonna do a show today. I'm gonna kind of go over a few things that surprised me this year in terms of golf clubs, equipment, stuff that kind of was going into the year, didn't expect, or two, products that were much better than I expected. Doesn't necessarily they were, gamers in the bag or whatever, but stuff that I hit that I was kind of surprised at, or pleasantly surprised at, of how well they played. So it's an interesting concept, and I'll be honest, it isn't one of the most original or compelling things. But when you get to the end of the year and it's cold and you don't have a golf course to go play on, you kind of get stuck with and you've got a bunch of product that you can't talk about because it's under embargo. this is kind of what you get to. So maybe next year I'll try to plan out some more stuff where I can have some more review type items in at the end of the year. But it's tough because by the end of the year you kind of hit everything, or a lot of things, and then all the new stuff that's coming out, you're starting to hit it, but you can't talk about it or anything like that. So so a few things that are surprise. I'm going to leave. I'm going to start off with kind of the first product that I thought was pretty interesting. I didn't think much of it when it came out. I remember getting the press release and all that, and then I guess I never really thought, excuse me, looking at like wedge shafts. There's a bunch of options out there. I think a lot of people kind of take wedge shafts for granted. I think there's some that definitely offer different, kind of ball flights and all that, and I know some claim to have like crazy high spin and all these things. And when you go and hit them, a lot of them may perform very similar. Like I said, the biggest thing I usually notice is kind of a launch difference between wedge shafts, whether it's a little bit higher, a little bit lower. Spin seems to always be pretty decent. You're always able to, kind of hit the green and get the ball to stop. So the one that I was actually kind of interested in that I didn't think was actually going to do much, I thought it was going to be kind of the same shaft that you always hit, would be the Breakthrough Golf Technology ZNE or Zone Shaft. So the ZNE from BGT, I think I reviewed this well, probably a few months ago now. But the ZNE is basically BGT's kind of design. It's a graphite or carbon handle section, goes into like an aluminum little coupler tip, and then a steel tip section. So it's like a 3-piece design in a shaft, and their whole thing is talking about stability. Much like everything they design, it's kind of like adding stability, making it a high performance wedge shaft. And when I got them in, I kind of looked at them. I'm like, wow, they look kind of different. They got this taper design and all that. They look pretty different. The handle section looks, I'll call it looks kind of fat, but it's really not. And I said, man, that's kind of interesting. And but I don't. Is it going to actually play any different? Is it going to be anything really different than a regular wedge shaft? And was really surprised at how good it was, and it actually became kind of my gamer. This is my 56 degree TaylorMade MG3 that I pretty much at the end of the year played all the time, and it made it in there, and I put it in here to test it, and it's never come out. I've never taken it out. And really the biggest thing that I was really shocked with, and I've got a 115 in the 50 degree in the gap wedge, but the thing that was interesting was just how straight the ball went. And I think I noticed it first right on the range. You hit a few balls, and everything just went right at the target. I mean, when you hit a ball, it just went dead straight. It just went straight, consistently straight. Now, it did launch a little higher, so if you're a person who does hit a little bit of a higher ball flight or a higher ball and you're looking to lower it, this may not go as flat as you may want it to go. But overall, like, the consistency was insanely good. Like I said, everything went pretty much straight. It just dropped right over wherever you swung the club. Excuse me. Wherever you swung the club, that's where the ball went. And it just happened over and over and over again. Took it out to the course. Exactly the same. I mean, as long as you didn't hit it fat or thin, it pretty much went exactly where you swung the club. Like, it was incredibly straight. It didn't have like, not that you curve really, a wedge shot, especially, something like a 56. But the 56 and the 50 just were extremely consistent in terms of dispersion. You could hit a bunch of shots out there, and they would just kind of land in the same area. And they have a good feel to them. They do, dampen a little bit of vibration, which is kind of nice, especially for somebody who practices on mats a lot, where you have any type of injury or anything like that, little wrist or shoulder or back injury, whatever. It does reduce some of that vibration. But I mean, partial shots to full shots, every kind of in there, it did seem to add some stability and some consistency there that I just didn't think it would. It's a wedge shaft. You're hitting these little partial shots. You're hitting these little, 70-yarders, 100-yard shots. What's really going to be the difference in these? And it did make a legitimate difference that I saw out there on the course. Now, in terms of, hitting it on a launch monitor or whatever, I didn't go that far at that time. I just kind of started hitting stuff on launch monitors and giving some numbers. But just in terms of play out on the course and on the range, it just was a really stable and consistent shaft that I just didn't expect to be that way. I kind of expected it to be kind of like every other shaft and hit some decent wedge shots with. But, everything from the sand to, kind of open face shots, all that, it just really performed well. And it was one of those things that just, one of the shafts that just kind of shocked me. I didn't expect it to be as good as it is, and at least for my game. And I know a lot of people will say, well, I didn't hit it and I didn't hit it great. That's totally fine. I mean, golf equipment's that way. There's stuff out there that you'll hit that you don't, that you don't hit well, that I hit well, and vice versa. And there's products out there that just don't work for everybody. And that's why there's so much equipment out there, because some stuff is going to work for you, some stuff isn't. Nothing wrong with that. It's all still, good products. So, but the BGT Zone or ZNE shaft, the wedge shafts, were just really shocking of how well and they worked for me, and how well they performed. And like I said, it was something that I didn't really expect to hit, expect to notice a difference, and I really did. And so far they're in the wedges. They're still in the wedges here. Going into next year, whatever wedge I play, I'll probably pull these out and put them in the next set if I don't play these MG3s again. I don't know what I'm going to play this year. The MG3s are actually still in pretty good shape, so they're probably going to start off the season in the bag as the gamers, and then we'll have to see what comes after that. But for the start of 2023, these will be in the bag. 'Cause I don't think there's a lot of new wedges coming out for the beginning. Beginning of the year. I don't think there's anything wildly new coming out, at least that I've been aware of. So these will probably stay in the bag for the beginning of the year, and then we'll see as the year goes on what comes out, what's new, and if anything will beat these boys. But yeah, the BGT, the Breakthrough Golf Technologies ZNE shafts, I'd say definitely go try them. I mean, I know they're not cheap. In terms of per shaft, I think they're like $200 or something like that. They're not cheap. I'll admit that. But I did, like I said, I did notice a difference with it, and I think some other golfers have. I know I see a lot of. I think they're $179. So sorry, I was wrong. $179, but they're not cheap. But like I said, I think they did offer a little different performance, and it kind of were something that I was shocked at. So if you get a chance to try them, I would say go try them. And if they work for you, great. If not, hey, that happens. But if you check out breakthroughgolftech.com and check out the ZNE. But it was probably one of my bigger shocks of the year because, like I said, I just didn't think it was going to do much in a wedge. Wedge, you just don't hit. It's not like a driver. Not like you're swinging it faster, and it's got this longer travel, and needs all this stability and all this stuff. It's pretty short travel, short shots, all that. But definitely noticed something that was pretty interesting. So that's my first one there. Let me wet the old whistle. I'm not going to classify myself as sick, but I do have I don't feel necessarily congested, but in my head I can feel there's either some type of pressure or whatever, which is probably the start of what my daughter has, which is just the leaky runny nose. But hopefully, drinking a bunch of emergency and stuff like that, hopefully I can fight it off before it hits me. The next kind of surprising piece in my arsenal this year is that the Bettinardi stayed in the bag all year. The BB-8W, which I have since taken all the paint fill out of. I know that the camera's not going to really focus on this bad boy. And again, if you're watching this on YouTube, but if you the BB-8W from Bettinardi, this is the 2022 one. I'm kind of shocked that it stayed in the bag. To be honest, I just thought with everything else that was coming out between all the stuff from Lab, all the different mallets from TaylorMade and Callaway, and all these guys. That this would stay in the bag. I thought for sure at some point it would get knocked out, with something else out there. I've always been a guy who's kind of been more of a mallet player anyway, and I figured with all these mallets, even with the little slant necks and stuff like that, that something would take its place at some point. I played the 2021 version of this, and then, when this came out, I immediately switched because sound and feel of the 2022 model was so much better. They moved to 303 stainless on these, but they offered a little deeper milling on the face, and that deeper milling I think definitely helped with the sound and feel. The ball had a good roll on it, but it was just overall a really good putter. They also shortened up a little bit from heel to toe, so it had just a little bit more compact look than last year's model. Overall, I loved it. As soon as I hit a putt with it, I immediately pulled the. I've got a Fujikura MC putter shaft in it. Immediately pulled it out of the 2021 head, put in the 2022 head, threw it in my bag, and that was it. So it was the putter that I played with pretty much all year. And I tried a bunch of other things, tested out a bunch of other things, and it just always stayed in the bag. I never really took it out. I did move to actually like a Super Stroke Pistol GT 1.0 grip, which I was kind of surprised I moved to that, but it did kind of help take away a little bit of that right miss or left miss when I miss the right hand influence and left miss. It took away a little bit of that, but it was just one of those putters that I figured after, because for me, a lot of putting, I mean, like most amateurs, I'm a streaky putter. When I'm putting well, I'm making putts. But it's easy to go away, and the timing and all that stuff, and it goes away pretty easily. And a lot of times I'll make putter switches just to try to get that honeymoon effect back. And with this, I still didn't. I just kept playing it, and for the most part, putted decent with it. I wouldn't say I had the best putting year of my life or anything like that, but I putted really well with it. And again, I thought it would have its time. Something would come off. The honeymoon phase would wear off. I'd put something else in the bag, and then I would just kind of forget about it. And unfortunately, or not unfortunately, really, but it just never happened. I just kept putting with it and kept playing with it, and it it had its times where it did get benched and it lost some playing time for a week or so. But it always found its way back, and I would always take it and get to the putting green, make a few putts, feel confident with it, and there you go. It just would go right in the bag. So I think I played with it. I go on my guys' golf trip with everybody in the beginning of August. I think I brought 2 putters with me. I don't think the other putter ever went in the bag. I think I played this the whole time. I think I made too much of any or made really any club switches that week, but basically played this all week. But like I said, I mean, I like the Mez 1 Max as that came out, came really close. That was is a very close contender. And then honestly, unfortunately, the Toulon Chicago that I loved so much last year, and really liked the new version because, again, I think they improved the sound and feel on the new one. That's the club that really got pushed to the side and kind of went into one of the bags in the corner and really didn't get a lot of playing time after that. So, but this Bettinardi, the BB-8 wide, I've been a big fan. If I'm going to play a blade, I want a blade with some meat on it. I want it to be a little wider flange. I want it to be a little chunkier. I don't like looking down at the super narrow, tiny blades that some companies make. They just don't make me feel like there's a lot there. This makes it feel like it's a little heavier, like it's got some mass to it, like it gives me a little bit more confidence. I also like the slightly longer sight line on the flange compared to some of the narrower models, but overall just a great putter, just a solid blade, and I've been really happy with it. And it'll be interesting because it doesn't look, or at least at the moment, there's not a new version of this for 2023, so it'll be interesting to see. Starting off the year, this will probably be in the bag. Does it stay in the bag? There's the big question. The I wouldn't call it $1 million question, but does it stay in the bag this year? It'll probably start off the year in the bag. Will it stay and be there forever? I don't know. I also need to see about sending it off to get it kind of refinished. I think it'd be kind of cool to do something else with it. I mean, the black charcoal finish is pretty cool. It does show a little bit of fingerprints, more than you would think. Those little oils and all that kind of stay on it more than I thought. But I think there's some cool companies out there that could do some pretty cool things with it. So I might pop the shaft off and send the head off to somebody for maybe a cool refinish and see what we can do with it. But it's a putter that, again, I thought this year would finally get beat. Something else would take it off, especially at the end of the year, and nothing has so far. So it's still the gamer, still in the bag, and we'll see how far it goes into 2023. I don't have a ton of confidence that'll make it super far in 2023, but you never know. With putters and certain clubs, putters, 3-woods, things like that, hybrids. When you find the really good one, it's tough to sometimes let it go. It's tough to find something to replace it. So we'll see how far it goes. But I don't have a ton of confidence that it's going to make it through all of next year. But if it does, that'll be pretty amazing. So Bettinardi's BB-8W, or the 8 wide, very surprising that it stayed in my bag as long as it did. Because, like I said, I didn't think it really would. So the next item, I got like 3 more, I think. I got 3 more. I know this is, like I said, probably not going to be the longest podcast in the world, but all good. You guys probably have other things to do and are traveling, so probably don't want to listen to me yap that long. Anyway, the next thing that surprised me in terms of clubs is the fact that I put a 7-wood in the bag, and the other thing that's amazing about it is I put a 7-wood in the bag. And I've been a hybrid guy forever. I mean, I have no problem admitting that I can't hit a 3-iron. And, 4-iron, I don't even typically play much of the set 4-iron anyway. I play something different, like a utility iron. But the hybrid I thought was for sure in my bag. And then I got a 7-wood, started to hit it. And I hit it when I got fit at PXG, and I hit it really well. And I really liked it. And I said, wow, this thing's super easy to hit. And then I put it in the bag and hit it, and I was a little worried about it because I do have to say a lot of courses I play, I've got hybrid kind of set up to play off the tee on certain par 4s that either have some trouble or they kind of really tighten down in the landing area, whatever. And the 7-wood's great because it goes straight up in the air, it comes straight down, it lands really soft, but it doesn't quite go as far. It goes a similar distance, but then the hybrid can have a little bit of roll, especially off the tee, where this just kind of hit and stop. So I was a little worried, would I play it much? Because off the tee, I'm probably going to lose a little bit of distance. And nothing crazy because, I mean, it's not rock hard here. We're not getting 30 yards of roll or anything like that. But I'm going to lose a little bit, and is that going to kind of change how I play some of those par 4s and things like that? And it ended up not. Like, I ended up finding that when I struck it really well, like dead center, I would pretty much be within the same... I would pretty much be in the same landing area as I would if I hit hybrid. And yes, if I hit hybrid absolutely 100% flush, maybe I'd be a little farther up. But I don't think it ever changed really... ever changed anything really more than maybe half a club in terms of distance. I mean, at St. Clair Shores, hole number 3, you got to hit basically a 220-yard shot, and then you got about 100 in. But you got to hit it out straight. There's a creek that runs in front of it, so you got to hit it out, and then you got to aim right because the thing kind of doglegs right, hit it over the green, and if you hit it too far, it rolls through the fairway into some trees, and 1, good luck finding it. 2, if you do find it, you have 0 shot. You're just punching out back into the fairway. And I was kind of worried about, where this thing would go. And, it's kind of a shot that you kind of have to hit well. And after playing it all year, hit it really well. Down at Bella Vista, what is it, hole 3? Well, I guess they're both hole 3s, which is pretty interesting. Oh, no, 4. Hole 4, you got to hit it through a chute of trees to a pretty wide open landing area. If you go too far, it really tightens up. And that was the one I was kind of worried about, because if you don't hit a great shot off the tee, it's a super narrow approach shot into the green. There's trees just all along the right side. There's trees kind of on the left side that they bow out a little bit to give you some space, but the cart path's over there. So if you miss it left, it'll hit the cart path and bounce into the woods and be gone. So it really takes 2 good shots to get it on the green there. And then the green is tiered, but that's a whole other problem. And I was worried that one, because if you don't hit a great shot, you can be stuck with a 6-iron into that green. And a 6-iron into that green is not fun. Just because if you don't hit one well, it kind of falls short. We usually play in the morning. There's 0 roll, so the dew catches it. And it's just overall just a really tough second shot. And I was worried that this was going to leave me a little bit more going into that green, even when I hit it well. And it ended up not being the case. And also on there, kind of found I could hit, I had the option to hit 7-wood. If it wasn't, anything, I could sometimes even hit 3 and get it down. If I hit a good shot, I could still avoid the tightening area a little bit and still have a good shot in. So, but the 7-wood worked really well. I was able to hit it off the turf, hit it off the tee. Really versatile, and it's just super easy to launch in the air. It lands really soft. It was just overall really good. And honestly, it's the other thing too is when you set it down, at least this PXG one, when you set it down, it doesn't look closed. It almost looks open. I had a couple others that I've hit throughout the year. Hit the new TSR one, or the TSR 2. In 7-wood, same thing. Didn't look closed or anything like that. And just overall, I'm really impressed with the 7-wood. And it knocked out, 2 hybrids that I thought were really, really good. One of them being the Cobra King Tech, which I thought was one of probably the better underrated hybrids of the year. And then, or really the past 2 years. I think they've been making it 2 years now, or at least this year. Super underrated. And then an Apex UW, which, I mean, you guys know the UW has been kind of a cult hit for a lot of better players out there who don't really hit hybrids well. It's kind of like an in between a fairway and a hybrid, and it knocked both those out, and has been super consistent in my bag. So I don't think you're going to see a 7. I think with this one here, the shocking thing is, will this Gen 5 7 wood stay in the bag? It could. Like I think I said on the one of my podcasts, it may be the one club that has a chance of staying in the bag all next year. Just because when you get comfortable with something like this, it's tough to get rid of it. But for sure, I'm going to try a few more 7 woods, and there's definitely going to be a 7 wood probably of some sort in my bag next year. I just don't see a hybrid going in there. The interesting thing will be, what do I do after it? But right now, like I said, there will probably be a 7 wood of some sort in my bag from now on. I just don't see where I would switch it out and play something different at the moment. So we'll see when new clubs come out. I mean, there's going to be new hybrids and new fairways and new kind of stuff coming out next year. I'm going to definitely try these things, but at the moment, I think a 7 wood is in my bag to stay for a while. So, especially as a guy who doesn't hit it super, super high, being able to hit it high, let it land soft, and with pretty much minimal effort or having to try to hit a high ball or anything like that, works out really well. The final club in my 2022 end of the year surprises is pretty much something brand new that I'm kind of shocked that I've liked it as much as I have, but I have, and that is the new Ping iCrossover. So the iCrossover is Ping's utility iron. They make it in a handful of lofts there. And this year it did come with an adjustable hosel, so you have the ability to change out the lofts, so they go an 18 to 20 and a 22 and a half, and then you can alter that by like 1.5 degrees. With the hosel, this is the 4-iron here. I'm playing it 1 degree up, so it's playing 23 and a half at the standard length of 39, and it basically is supposed to replace a 9 wood, which for me, is a 4-iron. And this was one of those things where I went to review it when it first came out. This with the I-230 irons, and when I first set it down, I didn't love the look of it. It has a decent amount of offset to it, and I thought, well, that probably won't be anything that goes in my bag. I don't love the look. The black on it's cool. The top line's all great. It just had a lot of offset. And I was like, well, that's fine. I get it. And then I hit it. And the first handful of shots of the range were just almost effortless to get in the air. I don't think I'd ever hit a 4 utility that high and that consistent. And then I took it to the course. And even on bad swings, bad days, able to hit it really well. So very shocking that something like this went in the bag so quickly. It was just one of those things like after the first couple shots, you just forgot about the offset, and it just became something you became comfortable with. I think one of the last rounds I played over at St. Clair Shores, hit a terrible drive, and I had on the whole 9th hole, which is like 300 and something. I mean, it's a short hole, but if you hit rip driver and you hit it down the left side, there's a pond up near the thing, so you can't really just go up and just haul off and hit driver unless you're not going to go left. You can hit it right and have a little bit of space. You may have to play it off 10T or something like that if you spray it a little further right, but hit a terrible drive, had 200 and something in, and just sitting in the rough, hit this thing, knowing I probably wouldn't get it to the green, but fine, I'll get it up in front, be able to chip it on, and have at least a putt for par, and at worst made bogey. Hit this bad boy to basically the front fringe. Was shocked how far it went. It went high in the air, landed soft. It was just, everything about it was just really, really good. So off the tee, off the turf, just a club that's super versatile. And yes, I know it may not be the most amazing feeling club or the most amazing sounding, and it does have some offset, but it frickin' works. So it definitely works. I've been hitting it really well. I'm super impressed with it. I was playing the Tour Edge tie utility. I was playing the Mizuno Fly High Pro or Mizuno Pro Fly High, both those, and it was immediately this one in the bag. And those that are there, are great. The Mizuno Pro Fly High, that one there. If you're a player, hits it off the tee, it's an absolute cannon. The tie utility launches just a little bit flatter, but again, same thing, goes a long way. All that, the great clubs. This I just hit better. I don't know what it is. Maybe it is a little offset. Maybe I need a little offset in my life to get me where I need to go. But hit this thing extremely well right out of the gate. And it's rare that you become comfortable with a club so quickly, at least for me, and just something that became really comfortable really fast. And so far, it's been in the bag, and we'll see. I've been throwing around the notion of, do I look for like a hybrid to go 4-iron instead of a utility iron, just for something that's easier to launch, whatever. The only issue is I get into like hybrids at that like 22, 23, 24 degrees, whatever it is. But around that, you just see so much of the face, and the look is just not something I truly love at that loft. So we'll see. But I'm going to definitely try a few things, see if it can help. But for right now, the crossover, the Pincross iCrossover is in the bag. It's been really good, and I have no notion of taking it out at the moment. It does have the Tour 2.0 85 gram. In just a stiff flex, and it's fairly stout. Like, it feels pretty good, but it matches my irons in terms of I play stiff flex in the irons, but just like I said, super easy to hit, much more forgiving than most 4-irons I've hit, and it seems to launch a little higher as well. So if you're somebody looking for a little help in the 4-iron area, and you're willing to look beyond the offset on it, the iCrossover it performs exceptionally well. So again, one of those things I just never really thought, especially from the first look, I was like, there's no way this isn't going in the bag. It's too much offset. I don't like the look. And then you hit it and you go, well, it's in the bag. So the final thing that has kind of impressed me at the end of the year is the Full Swing Kit launch monitor. And when I first got this thing, we hit it, and it was pretty good. We hit it in the winter. It was pretty good. And then they had a few versions of the software that weren't necessarily amazing, and there were some things that I thought, it lost a little bit of accuracy in certain places. And then the updates of this summer or this year that they put out have made it really, really good. And it's really consistent. I think for the money, it's tough to beat in terms of what you get. I mean, you get club data, you get ball data. I do have to say there are a few things that I wish it had still, and I know they're always updating stuff. But I think it's a good launch monitor. I've started to use it more and more. Pretty much every time I go to the range, I bring this with me, and every time that I've given you guys any bit of numbers off clubs I've hit, it has been with this, and I feel pretty confident that I'm giving you numbers from this. I feel pretty confident that they're accurate. People sit there and say, oh, it's not TrackMan, whatever. We hit this against a pretty expensive monitor, and at times I thought this was more accurate in terms of carry distance and stuff like that than the $25,000-$30,000 monitor was, because there were some readings that we got from that were not necessarily that amazing. Especially when you knew you were lasering stuff and hitting it and seeing what the actual numbers were. This seemed to be actually more accurate in some places. But overall, I'm really impressed with it. I'm pretty confident that when you look back and you see the numbers on there, it is, what it says it is there. I do wish there were a few things about it that were a little bit better. I wish they had, out of all the data points, I wish they had descent angle, which I don't see that they have on there. And then also I wish you could compare. I wish you could compare clubs a little bit easier. So you can go in and you can compare, but you have to look at like each metric at a single time. So you got to look at carry, and then you can look at carry for all the clubs you hit, and then you can look at total distance, and then spin, and launch angle, and whatever. I wish you could do kind of select some clubs, like especially for me, like if I hit a couple 7-irons next to each other, a couple 4-irons, or whatever it is, drivers. Then you could select those and see a graph that showed all that data, side by side, kind of like TrackMan and Foresight and those guys. They don't have a way to graph it yet. I know I've talked to them about it, and they're definitely looking at different things to do with their software and make things a little better and improve them. So hopefully that'll be something that comes because as true gearheads, we want to compare two different shafts or two different clubs or whatever it is, and that is the only thing that's not super easy to do at the moment. But overall, really impressed with the unit. I just I thought, for the price, which is, I mean, it's not cheap. Don't get me wrong, it's $5,000. But compare, for what you get in terms of accuracy and a lot of the they've added a bunch of stuff on the latest update with some indoor use and things like that. Normalization and all those things which are coming. They're really adding a lot of features every time they do a software update, and those features don't cost anything. I mean, they're part of the plan in a sense. So it's pretty cool that they add all that stuff in. It's pretty small. It actually can fit in a golf bag if you want to slide it in the big pocket in there. But overall, I think it's a really solid monitor. And like I said, there's a couple things that I hope they add in for next year to be able to kind of compare clubs more easily. But I know that there's some people out there now even doing some fittings with these and all that. They're starting to show up on the OEM side as well. So these guys are doing some stuff right, and it's pretty cool. I know they've added some of the simulation stuff. I think these are E6 compatible and all that. So I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with this. And if you're a guy who, like me, who's stuck indoors, or you're going to the ranges, the domes, even that, it's got modes for long range indoor and things like that. So a lot of this stuff is pretty cool, and they're adding more and more. So the full swing kit has been a thing that I've been kind of surprised that I've been using so much, because I've never been a huge launch monitor guy for the most part. In terms of, I mean, yes, I've used them, whatever, but for me, I don't need to sit there and just look at numbers all day and say, for me, it's what works on the course. But it is kind of nice to have this thing on the range and be able to, especially in the winter, be able to say, instead of just trying to visually look down a snowy range and say, oh, this one went farther, to be able to look and say, hey, this is, this one launched differently. This one went, here's the comparison of two clubs. And it's kind of nice to be able to do that and show some numbers and be pretty confident that the numbers that I'm giving to you guys are accurate enough that I can, reliably stand behind them and say, yes, this is what I was hitting. So the full swing kit was a pretty cool item that, like I said, I've started using much, much more, and I didn't think I really would, which is pretty cool. So, like I said, a couple things I would like to see, and hopefully some of that stuff gets added for next year. It'd be pretty exciting. So I think that's all I've got for this week. I know it's kind of an interesting show, a little shorter, but hey, I know you guys are probably on your way to go, do some stuff, get ready for the new year, and I don't want to hold you back from that. So again, everybody travel safe, whatever you're doing for New Year's, whatever. Just be safe, and let's jump into 2023 to be able to play some golf, hit some new golf equipment, and I think it's going to be a cool year when it comes to gear. So I'm super excited to see what's next. Again, if you follow me on Instagram at Club Junkie Pod, and if you could, if you're watching this on YouTube or wherever you subscribe to the podcast, if you could subscribe, like it, whatever, that would be just absolutely awesome. It just flat out helps the algorithm, helps us grow, and the more I grow, the more stuff I probably have access to. So I know there's always stuff that people ask, and I'm like, I've never hit it. If this show can get a little bigger, get a little, a few more views, whatever, I probably have no problem getting some of that stuff to hit. So excited, but like I said, if you're following at Club Junkie Pod, again, have a great new year. Excited to see you guys in 2023, and I'm probably going to mess up my first show by calling it 2022 or something like that. But hopefully you guys have a good one. Be safe, and we'll talk to you next year.